There's something most people overlook. A quiet truth hidden in the last digit of their birth year. Not just a number, but a key. A subtle sign pointing toward the nature of your soul, your inner fire, your weakness, your lesson in this life. In the ancient world, especially among the monks of the Shaolin path, numbers were not seen as random. They reflected energy. They echoed the cycles of nature: wind, water, stillness, and fire. This isn't about fortune-telling or superstition. It's about inner architecture. Your soul, like every temple, is built on a blueprint, and the last digit of your birth year is one of the stones that shaped it. Most ignore these patterns, but the path of self-mastery demands we observe even the smallest things, because the smallest things often hold the deepest truths. Today, you'll learn what each last digit reveals, not just as a label but as a lesson, a mirror into your habits, your emotional wiring, and your soul's hidden compass. If your year ends in 0 or 9 or any number between, each one offers a different rhythm, a different silence, a different test. And somewhere in these meanings, you may uncover the very answer you've been silently walking toward, the part of yourself you sensed but couldn't name. In this journey, I will guide you through ancient insight, grounded not in belief but in awareness. Stay with me until the end, because clarity does not always arrive in the first step. Sometimes it waits at the very edge. Welcome to the Limitless Shaolin. Walk with purpose. And if this path speaks to you, consider subscribing. The journey within is only beginning. There is a silence that speaks louder than words, a stillness that does not beg to be seen, yet shapes the entire world around it. This is the nature of 0. When your birth year ends in 0, it carries with it the essence of the void, the sacred space between all things. In Zen, 0 is not emptiness as in nothingness. It is emptiness as potential. It is the open sky before the first cloud forms. It is the space between two breaths. It is the gap where ego dissolves and truth begins. Such a soul often feels different, not because of what it desires, but because of what it no longer clings to. While others chase noise, the 0 soul seeks quiet. While others collect, it releases. It is drawn to simplicity, not from lack, but from deep inner clarity. But this path is not easy. The world does not understand those who do not compete, who do not compare, who do not rush. The lesson is this: your power lies not in what you carry, but in what you have the strength to set down. A cup that is full cannot receive more. The soul of 0 must remain like the cup, empty, open, ready. Ego whispers, fill yourself. But wisdom answers, empty so the Tao may flow through you. The monk who walks this path does not seek applause. He sits beneath the tree while others chase the forest. He listens not to respond, but to dissolve. This is not weakness. This is mastery over form, the kind that cannot be stolen, only discovered within. Remember, 0 does not add noise. It adds depth to the silence. When the last digit of your birth year is 1, it marks the soul of initiation, the one who begins, who steps first, who dares before the path is clear. In ancient traditions, this number was not just a start but a spark, a sign of fire beneath stillness, movement born from still intent. This kind of soul carries the burden and blessing of direction. You are not meant to follow. You are meant to begin. The first to speak truth when it's uncomfortable. The first to rise when others hesitate. The first to imagine something greater, even when the world still clings to the old. But here lies the challenge. Because where leadership begins, pride often waits. The mind whispers, you are ahead, and slowly you forget the stillness that gave you strength. In Shaolin thought, even the one who walks first must bow to the silence of the path. Humility is not to think less of yourself, but to remember that the path itself is always greater than the one walking it. The soul shaped by one must learn discipline, not to control others, but to master the self. The hand must learn patience before it holds the sword. The voice must know silence before it speaks wisdom. Without discipline, the spark becomes a fire that burns instead of lights. Initiation is not about being seen. It is about responsibility. To begin what is right, even when no one follows. To walk alone, not with pride, but with quiet courage. To plant a seed, knowing the tree may not grow in your lifetime. True strength is not in being first. It is in being faithful to what is right, even in solitude. That is the essence of the One. That is the spark that begins all things. When the last digit of your birth year is 2, your soul walks the path of duality. It is the way of balance, not by removing tension, but by learning to stand still within it. This is the path of yin and yang, light and shadow, giving and receiving. It is not about choosing one over the other. It is about seeing that both are necessary, both are sacred. This kind of soul often feels torn between action and rest, between strength and softness, between logic and emotion. But the true lesson is not to choose a side. It is to realize that both are within you and both must be mastered. In ancient thought, the master is not the one who avoids conflict, but the one who can breathe in its presence, not reacting, not retreating, but remaining fully aware, still, steady, rooted like the bamboo, which bends without breaking. There is power in this stillness. The warrior who charges without awareness loses control, but the one who stands still within their own storm sees clearly, moves wisely, and acts only when necessary. Discipline for the soul of 2 is not about suppressing emotion. It is about listening without drowning in it. It is the daily practice of holding opposites without collapsing, being strong and gentle, bold and humble, silent and expressive. You may feel the weight of contrast often, like living between 2 worlds. But that tension is not a flaw. It is the forge. It is where your spirit is shaped, not through comfort, but through conscious presence in discomfort. To live as the 2 is to remember this. Peace is not the absence of conflict. It is the ability to remain calm, centered, and whole, even when the world around you is not. When the last digit of your birth year is 3, the soul carries the flame of expression. This flame is not loud by nature, it is purposeful. It does not burn to be seen, but to bring light to what is hidden. This kind of soul is drawn to communication, but not for noise, for meaning. In ancient Shaolin tradition, words were treated like movements, measured, deliberate, filled with intention. The teaching was simple: speak less, mean more. A true warrior does not waste movement. In the same way, the disciplined soul does not waste words. Many speak from impulse, but the soul shaped by 3 is called to speak from clarity, to express truth, not just opinion, to build bridges with words, not walls. But this gift must be trained. Without discipline, expression becomes performance. Without inner stillness, words lose their weight. True mastery lies not in saying more, but in knowing when to remain silent, in learning to sit with your truth until it ripens, in allowing your words to rise from still waters, not from restless waves. The one guided by 3 must practice restraint before expression, to listen fully before speaking, to understand before responding. The voice gains strength not from volume, but from alignment with what is real within. Remember, even a single sentence spoken with full awareness can change the direction of a life. But empty speech, however long, passes like wind through branches heard, but not held. When silence and speech are both mastered, the soul becomes a bridge between inner and outer, between seen and unseen. And then every word becomes a reflection of stillness, every breath an extension of truth. When the last digit of your birth year is 4, your soul is shaped by structure. This is the number of foundation, like the 4 corners of a temple or the 4 limbs in meditation. It speaks to stability, discipline, and grounded effort. A soul drawn toward order, rhythm, and the quiet strength of routine. You may find comfort in systems, in daily patterns, in the familiar. This is not weakness, it is the body remembering what the mind often forgets. That peace is built step by step, not through great leaps, but through small repeated movements done with presence. But the danger for this soul is stagnation, when routine becomes rigid, when stability becomes resistance to growth, like a stone that refuses to be shaped by water. In the ancient teachings, we are reminded that even the strongest mountain can crack if it never bends. Discipline must remain alive. It must be fed by awareness, or it becomes control. True structure arises from stillness, not from anxiety, not from chaos. When the mind is calm, movement becomes graceful, action becomes precise. This is the wisdom behind all true martial forms. The stance is still, yet alert. The body moves, yet remains rooted. To master the energy of 4, the soul must build without clinging, be devoted, but not obsessed. Repeat the practice, but stay awake inside it. Let the routine sharpen you, not dull you. And always return to the breath, because no matter how strong the structure, it is the inner space that holds the real power. The temple is sacred, not because of its walls, but because of the silence it protects. This is the path of the 4 steady, strong, disciplined, but always aware that stillness is not the absence of movement, it is the origin of all right action. When the last digit of your birth year is 5, it carries the pulse of movement. This is the number of change of wind that cannot be caught, of rivers that do not return the same way twice. A soul shaped by 5 is drawn to experience. It seeks the unknown, the lesson behind the next corner, the story waiting in a stranger's eyes. You may find that staying still feels unnatural, that repetition feels heavy, even when it brings peace. But the wisdom of ancient practice teaches this. Movement without awareness is escape. Only through stillness do we truly understand why we move. This soul is meant to explore, but not to wander blindly. True freedom is not the absence of boundaries. It is the ability to choose your path with clarity, inner mastery. For the soul of 5 means standing calm in the storm, feeling the pull of emotion, the rush of desire, the excitement of change, and yet choosing your step with intention. Discipline is not denial. It is direction. It is the gentle hand that reminds the wild mind of its deeper purpose. The Shaolin monk does not walk barefoot on stone because he denies comfort. He walks barefoot so that every step becomes conscious, every step becomes alive. If you are shaped by 5, your gift is your adaptability, but your power will only reveal itself when you can move without losing your center, when your choices are not reactions but reflections of your values. The wind can carry you, or you can become like the mountain still within, moving only when it is time. The soul of 5 must learn this balance, to explore the world outside while never abandoning the world within. When the last digit of your birth year is 6, it reflects the soul of service, a quiet calling to help, to guide, to give. People with this energy often feel the pain of others as their own. They carry a natural compassion, a sensitivity not only to what is spoken, but also to what is held in silence. But service is not without danger. When you give too much without returning to yourself, the soul begins to fade. You become tired, hollow, and disconnected from your own center. And this is the lesson. You cannot pour from an empty vessel. The monk who forgets his own breath cannot teach others to breathe. Ancient wisdom reminds us that service without balance is not noble, it is unstable. Even in the monastery, where discipline is high and the days are filled with giving, each morning begins with inward reflection. Not out of selfishness, but because without inner clarity, outward action loses its purity. To truly serve, you must first see yourself, sit with your own thoughts, listen to your own needs. Let silence cleanse the noise from your mind. Only then can you offer something whole. Only then can your help be strong, steady, and sincere. The soul of 6 must learn the discipline of boundaries, to know when to speak and when to stay silent, when to help and when to step back, not out of indifference, but out of wisdom. Because sometimes what others need is not your energy, but your example. And in that way you become a bridge, not by sacrificing yourself, but by standing firm in your center and guiding others toward theirs. This is the highest form of service, not to carry others, but to awaken the strength already sleeping within them. When the last digit of your birth year is 7, it marks the soul of the seeker, the one drawn to what lies beneath the surface. This is not a loud path. It does not crave attention or applause. It moves through silence, through observation, through long stretches of solitude that others may never understand. The number 7 echoes the stillness of the Shaolin cave, where monks sat for days, unmoving, facing nothing but stone. Why? Because in the absence of distraction, truth begins to whisper. When no one is watching and there's no image to maintain, the deeper self begins to rise. This is the gift of the 7th soul, a natural call to reflection, to uncover truth not through others, but through direct experience with silence. But the path comes with its trials. It is easy for the seeker to become isolated, to mistake solitude for separation, to believe that stillness must mean distance from others. Yet ancient wisdom teaches that even the hermit must return from the mountain, not to be seen, but to serve. Connection too is a mirror. Others can show us what our own solitude cannot. Mastery for this soul is not about hiding from the world. It's about learning when to retreat and when to return. It's the ability to be alone without feeling empty and to be with others without losing yourself. Discipline lies in knowing that not every silence is wise. Some silences come from fear, others from awareness. The seeker must discern between the two. So embrace your need for depth. Protect your quiet spaces. But don't forget, the path of truth is not walked alone. Just as the cave reveals the self, the world reveals the soul's place within the whole. Balance both, and you walk the path of the awakened. When the last digit of your birth year is 8, it carries the weight and wisdom of cycles, beginnings that return as endings, and endings that quietly begin again. This is the soul of completion, the one who has walked through many lessons, often not just in this life, but carried across unseen time. There is a deep understanding within, an inner knowing that does not come from books or words, but from experience etched into the heart. Such a soul often feels older, quieter, more reflective. The world's chaos may seem distant, because something inside already knows the pattern. Rise and fall, gain and loss, silence after sound. This awareness can become a strength, but only if kept clean of pride. The danger for this soul is subtle, the belief that wisdom grants superiority. But wisdom that seeks recognition is no longer pure. True mastery is humble. It asks for nothing. It serves in silence. The tree does not announce its shade, and yet it cools the ground beneath it. In ancient practice, those seen as elders were not those who spoke the most, but those who listened the deepest. They gave not to be remembered, but because it was the nature of their spirit to do so. This is the calling of the 8, to give without needing thanks, to guide without needing to lead. Discipline, for this soul, is learning to hold power lightly, to influence without control, to share knowledge not to impress but to uplift. There is strength in quiet generosity. There is honor in unseen service. The circle of 8 reminds us that we do not carry wisdom to rise above others, but to kneel beside them and light the way home when they forget who they are. When the last digit of your birth year is 9, you carry the fire of completion. This is the soul that finishes what others start, the one who ties the final knot, brings things full circle, and closes chapters with grace. There is something settled in you, a quiet sense that the path has been long and many lessons have already been learned. But with this fire comes responsibility. Completion is not simply about reaching the end. It is about knowing when to hold on and when to let go. To finish well, with presence, without clinging, without fear. This is where inner mastery is revealed, in the ability to act with clarity and then release with peace. Ancient wisdom teaches that every ending is a doorway. What seems like closure is often transformation in disguise. The fruit falls not to signal death, but to plant new seeds. And so the soul of 9 must not become attached to what it completes. If you linger too long at the ending, you block the next beginning. Discipline for this soul is subtle. It is the discipline of surrender, of trusting the timing of things, of knowing that you have done what was needed and now it is time to step back, not in defeat but in wisdom. You may often find yourself guiding others, not through force, but through quiet certainty. People listen to you, not because you speak loudly, but because your words come from a place that feels lived, earned. This is your gift, not to lead with noise, but to teach with presence. And as each cycle closes, remember, fire does not only destroy, it clears the ground for what must come next. You are here, not just to end things, but to prepare the way for what is still to be born. So now you've heard the deeper meanings behind each final digit, not as a rule, but as a reflection, a gentle invitation from life itself to pause and look within. Remember, the digit doesn't define you. It only reveals a doorway, one that leads inward toward greater self-awareness. You are not limited by the number. You are shaped by how you respond to what it shows you. True mastery is not in chasing meaning. It is in becoming it. Through your breath, your actions, your stillness. The Shaolin path reminds us, know yourself not through the eyes of others, but through the silence within. So as you move through your day, carry this awareness with you. Watch how you speak, notice how you move. Stay grounded in presence. The lesson is not in the words, it's in how you live them. If this journey has brought you even a moment of clarity, consider joining us. Like this video, subscribe to our channel, The Limitless Shaolin, where ancient wisdom meets the modern soul. And above all, walk gently. The path is already beneath your feet.